I got so much I want to say about the First Amendment. I still don't understand it, but it is bonkers. I don't want to start sort of going down the First Amendment route because that's a huge subject and one of which I don't understand because I've only been here for a short period of time. But you can find a loophole in anything, and you can capitalize or exploit what's not said rather than uphold what is said.
Well, after moving to the United States last year, Prince Harry uses his freedom of speech to bash freedom of speech in the First Amendment. Those comments prompting a fiery response from Piers Morgan, who says, quote, like so much of the absurd Meghan-inspired psychobabble that spews out of his mouth, none of this makes any sense. Here to react is Fox News contributor and publisher at The Federalist, Ben Domenech. Hey, Ben.
Good to be with you.
Good morning. Good to have you on. Do you think it is Meghan-inspired babble?
Well, I certainly think that the prince is showing what happens when you are whipped by a mediocre actress and have that depth to your knowledge of the foundational documents of the greatest country in the history of the world. Look, the reality is that Prince Harry should be tarred and feathered and sent back to his grandma. He is not someone who appreciates anything that makes America great, and I think that in this instance, he once again showed why he should be taken as being just someone who is not taken seriously by anyone in America. Here's one of the problems with Prince Harry. He is part of the Aspen Institute's Commission on Information that is looking at all of the different disinformation on media today. He's a member of it along with a number of established journalists and people who you ought to respect. If he doesn't even know what the First Amendment is, if he thinks it's bonkers, what is he doing participating in a prominent and respected institution that is designed to try to battle disinformation in media? This is the kind of situation that we ought to respect as being one that is absolutely silly. It's upside down. This is someone who ought not be participating in American society or our reordering of anything related to media in any serious way, and yet he is.
It's interesting that he wants to be here, yet he thinks our inalienable rights are bonkers. Do you think he just doesn't understand it? Because in the UK, people are careful about what they say about the royal family. And Piers Morgan says in his op-ed, he says he feels like that's one of the reasons that he lost his job. And, you know, there's a part of me that feels sorry for him because he's not wanted over there now. And then he's isolating himself over here and criticizing what we all love about America. Do you feel a little bit of that?
The royals are yet another decaying Western institution, morally and financially bankrupt, and I have no sympathy for Prince Harry whatsoever. I think that we ought to dump him into Boston Harbor along with all the tea. And I really just have no patience for this.
Yeah.
This is absurd. He said these comments on a podcast with Dax Shepard, right. And I think that's the kind of position that he ought to be in, a podcaster, and not taken more seriously.
He just always got a pass over there, and now he's getting a rude awakening here because people are criticizing him. Thanks so much, Ben, for coming on.
Great to be with you.
Good to have you.